dashing all over the place. Picking up a kill for Sans here. It's still Onyx Esports with the lead in terms of the kills. And again, this is what RRQ needs to be careful of. If they play in that towards that bottom side, it's Onyx who have the lead.
They have an advantage when it comes to crowd control and dynamic pickup potential. But overall, if there's an objective, if everyone's in place to fight around, Onyx Esports with the stronger gold laner, with more damage on their assassins, and of course with Keyboy having a lot more AoE CC presence compared to Vin on that Franco, it's going to be a lot more difficult. So Vin needs to look for situations, opportunities, where his hero can be a lot more dynamic, a lot more useful than Lolita.
1,000 gold lead for Onyx Esports here in the
Wah,
fourth minute.
ketinggalan
As
jauh
both of
cuy,
these teams
bentar
are going to
coy.
be collapsing onto the next neutral objective.
Hampir.
Massive re-engage here as the Numenor Blast connects onto Vin. Onyx Esports played that so well. Going to RRQ, needs to wait for that hook. They dive in instantly for Vin, and now it's a 4v5. On to that turtle. Albert looking for that steal. Feather airstrike popped in by Clay. Right now onto Kyrie. Albert looking for that steal once again. Jumping in. Kyrie is the one who finds it. Some of the blades popped in as well.
Wah, Kyrie main itu.
The Dragon bringing Keyboy back for Skylar to pick up the kill. Crossbow tang over the boots, but the damage is
Aduh, nggak dapet
right
retry-nya,
now in the
Cok.
early stage. It's just a trade right now. A kill
Anjing.
over for another kill for Onyx Esports and a turtle.
The Numenor Blast is just such a dynamic ultimate that Onyx Esports in a 5v5 situation, when the setup is right, they are going to be able to create way more space for their members to go on. And that's completely different with RRQ Hoshi, right? Their only source of engage for the moment is either Vin or Albert, and both of these heroes have a point and click stun on one. So it's not an AoE CC, so it's not as dynamic as Onyx. So RRQ Hoshi, they need to think about this. Can they utilize their composition, look for more pickoffs on the board?
Nice banget.
Because otherwise, Onyx Esports, they're just going to snowball from all the engage that they have.
Musuhnya Valentina ya.
Pushing RRQ away, and RRQ, they're struggling to find
Valentina.
that grab. But you guys can actually grab it very easily with the app. Use that promo code and get up to 90% discount, because this game is going to be a long, drawn-out game for sure. None of these teams are inexperienced at slowing down the game and looking for a comeback.
It's a best of 7 too, so a very long game. Please go and wash your hair, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, with Head and Shoulders, because, hey, no one wants to see that dandruff. No one wants to smell bad, right? And especially the players here who are going to be playing on stage. They definitely smell good with that Head and Shoulders. But RRQ right now, not looking as fresh as Onyx Esports. Sans with a bloody hunt here is able to lock Albert
Nice
down.
banget Albert.
But Albert comes back in, the damage comes in, and look at the now.
Astaga, kenapa gak balik
Esports
Albert?
collapse into RRQ as the Temple of the Blades will be popped into the back line. Kyrie is dashing, being the distraction. Sans dealing the damage. Feather airstrike by Clay defensively, but he's going to be sandwiched in by Boots as he comes in. It's Kyrie with a triple kill, presented to you by Samsung Galaxy A Series 5G. R7 forced to back up. It's Onyx Esports with a 3.6k gold lead. That snowball already.
Jauh banget Cok duitnya, beda 4.000 anjir, 3.000, 2.000.
On the turtle, and
Nggak
this
ding,
is
3.000.
looking like a one-sided game
Retry.
here.
Alah, kocak.
Even
Dapat ding.
to get his
Enggak ding.
own buff off the
Anjing.
stage.
Wow, Sans as well with that.
Kenapa gak dilanjutin? Emang
He
gak
kicked
punya,
Albert away
iya
from
gak
the
punya
orange
ulti
buff,
sih Clay.
giving Boots a little bit more time to go for the steal. Albert still gets it in the end, but that Purify comes in clutch. Here, Arashi, with the 5,000 gold lead that Onyx Esports have built. Let's take a look at the items.
Windtalker and the Berserker's Fury on Kyrie, so a lot of damage. And if the fight gets drawn out, essentially DPS as well. And what's important to look at here is the fact that Boots already has that Bloodlust Axe as well. So when it comes to the sustain game, he won't be losing out to that Esmeralda. And arguably, in those fights, he is a lot more significant of a threat towards that backline of RRQ Hoshi. Because in a funny way, both these teams, both their compositions actually do a lot better when they're the aggressors. When they're on the back foot, like right now, Vin is finding a very difficult time trapping and abusing card control from that Franco. And the same can be said about Keyboy if the situation was reversed.
Albert only has the purple buff, and 60 seconds are left on the clock. We do see Boots once again being a nuisance there in the bottom side, putting a lot of pressure there. As now, Onyx make a play here in the top side. Unfortunately, Vin is not going to be able to connect that objective onto Keyboy, and they are just going to be completely zoned away at this stage. They do have better high ground, but of course, Onyx Esports with Sans, they're going to also be able to have high ground if they steal the Feather Airstrike from Clay.
They're going to have to funnel some gold into Skylar, because as it stands, the Irithel is absolutely going to eat this 1-1 up in these team fights. And the thing is, Vin can't really look for those crazy hooks in this game, because guess what? That Lolita is always ready with the shield. RRQ it doesn't feel like they're able to really make anything happen in the map right now, considering that, again, they're behind. And like Arashi mentioned, this is a team that does super well when they are ahead, or even, they need to be the aggressors. That's the main point. But even if they are the aggressors now, I don't think they're going to be able to win. 6,000 gold deficit for RRQ.
With 6,000 gold, you can see that RRQ, they're starting to actually corral together.
Oh!
Esports.
Keyboy stole the purple buff.
Wow, that is just unfortunate. And now Onyx Esports, they're going for the Lord.
Nggak di-block,
RRQ,
anjir.
they want to keep going.
Vin flickers in, but there was a little bit of
Oh, jelek
hesitation there
banget,
as the Lumina
anjing.
blast doesn't connect onto
Nggak
anyone.
bisa ngelawan ini mah.
RRQ in shambles.
Kalian kelepas ya sama Ling sama Paku itu
Onyx
anjir.
Esports taking full control of the game. Keyboy going for the stun. Albert has the Shunpu to get out, and RRQ will
Best of
lead
5
the
ya?
first Lord for Onyx Esports to take
Best of-
for free.
Iya 5.
7,000 gold lead here for Onyx Esports as of right now, here in the 10th minute. Being able to secure the Lord without a fight from RRQ Hoshi at all, and this is so difficult. Vin isn't able to be the sandbag for his team because he is on a Franco. What he can do is look for pickoffs with his hooks, but up until this point, he hasn't really been able to land it, even though the Lolita isn't in the vicinity, even though Keyboy is not in the vicinity. He tried to look for a play onto CW, but because of the movement
Kairinya
speed
kok
perhaps
retrinya
from
masih
CW
biasa ya
on
guys,
the
ngebug ya.
Aircel, he is still able to outmaneuver
Kairinya kok
any
retrinya nggak bawa warna sih.
initiation points coming in from Finn.
Dual sepatu apa deh?
8,000 gold lead now, Rashi.
8,000 gold lead, and that means more items available to counter Skylar in that late game as well. The Crossbow of Tang is a very strong ultimate, but it can be countered by a single item, a Wind of Nature, Winter Truncheon as well. With this kind of gold lead, Onyx Esports for sure will be respecting the only real potential for RRQ Hoshi to come back in the late game. Right now,
hampir
hook
kena.
attempted by Vin, but it won't connect, and Onyx Esports are coming in with the Lord. This is a tough situation, and RRQ Hoshi have no real answer to the long-range composition from Onyx Esports.
There's going to be a lot of poke. Feather Airstrike popped in once again to clear out the waves by Clay in the base.
Nah, dapat.
Finally for Vin. That's a hook onto Keyboy. Though as Albert jumps in with the
Nice.
wave, because he
Ceweknya
doesn't
dapat.
damage
Nice.
from the side of our
Reverse sweep. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
into that back line. Gonna be able to dish out the damage, but won't be able to take Vin
Ulti, bro.
down. Crossbow attack gonna be ready for Skylar right now, but he doesn't pop it just yet. Boot.
Oh, nggak punya
Is able
ulti
to
sekarang.
knock Skylar out with 2 punches into the head. Onyx Esports still managing
Dua tukar dua.
defend to get
Kalau
out
berarti
actually
mati.
of that siege. 2 for 2 for RRQ. Still an 8,000 gold lead for Onyx. It's not enough for RRQ.
Taking out Keyboy and CW. Not nearly enough right now. We take a look at the damage dealt by Axe. Suns all the way up there, followed by Kyrie and R7. The only one with significant damage on the side of RRQ. Even Clay with the long range, with the AoE, is unable to match because right now the threat towards the squishier members is so real. And this is exactly what RRQ Hoshi needs, right? A hook, an engage, and that was a hook onto a Lolita. So if he lands it on someone even more important, like
anjing, hampir
CW
kena.
right there, this could be a very different game, and Onyx Esports understand that. They know that RRQ Hoshi, they used to be called the comeback kings.
8,000, almost 9,000 gold lead at this point, and it's insane because in that previous team fight, it was nearly worth it for RRQ Hoshi, but Boots really just denied that, being able to pick Skylar off, who is now sitting at a 1-2-1 KDA. And if we take a look at the players both here, Clay, Skylar, and Albert really low there on the charts, but here we go.
Albert gonna be collapsed on, instantly deleted. Vin hooks a minion in. Kyrie jumping in, getting out of range, and look at the damage, look at the collapse, look at the damage from CW. Just gunning Skylar down, gunning Vin down as well. It's a triple kill for CW. R7 charging in that falling star moon, won't choose to go for it. Onyx Esports can actually look for the dive here, but they will just look for that base turret up top.
Clay po aja
2
sampai
base
mati
turrets
aja.
down, 11,000 gold lead. RRQ still looking for the defense as Kyrie is on the Lord. Onyx Esports dispersing really well right now, but R7 won't be able to
They
take
can
that
end.
damage. Feather Airstrike popped in throughout the mini waves, but it's gonna be cancelled out for the knockout strike. And Onyx Esports draw first blood in the series.
Anjing. Sumpah kenapa gitu sih
A
Pikachu?
one-sided game here for Onyx Esports.
Acil dia
against
udah acil,
RRQ
sumpah
Hoshi.
dah acil.
With how much prowess they had in terms of that laning, it's so obvious that when Skylar
Aduh, ya
loses that lane, it feels like
Allah,
RRQ Hoshi have no answer towards it. And Onyx Esports were able to capitalize over that, even since that early
Jelek
game.
banget Pikachu.
It seems like in that
Cuy.
final fight,
Draftnya
Skylar got
jelek
stuck
banget
on the
sumpah.
wall. He was trying to jump over it, but it took quite a bit too long, and Kyrie, he sees the opportunity,
Wratg
jumps
tuh
in
bagus
towards him,
picknya.
and that's just so difficult to deal with.
Ada
When you are
Lolita.
behind against a team with so much burst damage, the Valentina, the Ling, the Paquito, you see that even the tankiest of members, R7, it takes 1 second for Onyx to ensure that he is gone from the Land of Dawn, and Onyx Esports, they punish RRQ and get a very dominant showing in game number 1.
It's crazy.
Onyx lagi
That
gila-gilanya
game
sih
was,
emang si anjir.
like you said, dominant. How long was that game? 13 minutes, 11,000, about, no, 12,000 gold lead in the end there. 13-3. Onyx Esports looking in form once again. And RRQ Hoshi, remember, usually when they lose the first game of the series, that momentum isn't there for them, for a momentum-based team. But in the upper brackets, they were able to break that curse. They beat Onyx Esports after losing game 1.
Perhaps that's how they like to play.
Reading out their
Maybe
opponents.
reading out.
It's a best of 7, so
They
you
do
can't
have
really,
time.
they have a lot of time to play with, right? But still, giving over a game to a team like Onyx Esports, it's a very risky maneuver if that is part of the plan.
And we know from the track record that Onyx Esports, they are the ones who are a lot more comfortable playing for the long durations. Remember in Season 8, Onyx Esports, they played, what, 21... Wait, about
Keyboardnya
12
anjing
games
banget sih,
in one
anjir.
day. So that is something that RRQ Hoshi needs to take into consideration. If they think they can match Onyx Esports in endurance, they better, I don't know, have something up their sleeve. Have something that they can use to actually surprise Onyx Esports.
Here, you can see the crowd outside. Like we mentioned, in the arena, the tickets are sold out. But here in MPL Indonesia, we've given a little bit of a facility outside for everyone to watch along as well for free, just not in the MPL arena itself. Onyx, 1-0 currently. What are your thoughts on this?
Udah nge-lag anjing, nge-lag. Ini nge-lag dari ininya.
Eterna.
It was so dominant, and in a way, I really did think that RRQ Hoshi had the better draft. But I didn't think about the counters that Onyx Esports drafted themselves with as well, because the Irithel was great against the 1-1 for sure in that lane. And we mentioned about Franco not being able to get any landing hooks because of the shielding from Lolita. And at the end of the day, Onyx Snowball made RRQ Hoshi lose game number 1.
And honestly, we need to talk about, I think, the gameplay here more than the draft, right? Because RRQ, they drafted towards that strong side in the XP lane, but they played more towards the 1-1. They played into the losing side, and this is what you can kind of expect. With the Irithel absolutely dominating Skylar in the early stage, you're not really going to be able to enable Skylar like that. CW, sure, very vulnerable to those hooks, but who's there with him every single time? It's Keyboy with the shield. That Franco hook basically becomes a non-factor.
Yeah, so
and here,
even in a 2v2, they lose.
Exactly. As long as Irithel goes even against the 1-1, Irithel will win.
Padahal kalau kata aku mending
That's to try
lepas
and deal with
Fanny.
dynamic in game number 2.
Itu bisa ditendang
I
pakai
expected them to
cowok
use the
anjir.
mid lane and jungle presence a bit more effectively, because Kyrie, right, we talked about how there's a lot of danger in the composition towards him, but he was able to play a flawless game. 6-0 and 5. He was snowballing all the way since the early game, and that is definitely not the plan for RRQ Hoshi. We take a look at the items here. Only a Clock of Destiny lacking Truncheon for Clay, so not nearly enough damage if you compare to Sans. Already 5 items, right? Very strong snowball. And Boots, knowing that he is ahead, knowing that the team needs to be able to burst down even the tankiest of members like Albert, like R7, he goes for that Malefic Roar to ensure that the burst damage is insane. CW as well with the Wind of Nature. We talked already about a lot of these heroes being able to actually counter the Crossbow of Tang as well. So even in the late game, I don't think RRQ Hoshi have any easy way of dealing with Onyx Esports. It really needs to be something crazy like a hook onto CW, like a huge pickoff. But Onyx Esports, with how they're playing, with the composition, as you mentioned, with Lolita able to actually block away most of the damage, most of the crowd control, RRQ Hoshi, they just find themselves blocked at every single turn.
Again, right? It feels like RRQ just didn't play accordingly to the win conditions that were set in the draft. It's a very heavy single target comp, especially early on, right? When you have a Cho, when you have something like a Franco here, even the 1-1, you could say with the Crossbow Tang, it targets one player individually, right? It doesn't go five-man full AoE damage. The only one you can rely on for AoE damage is probably just the Farstand Esme. but they didn't play towards that pick. They went for the neutral objectives. They didn't go for a pick before. They did not time these neutral objective takes properly with that pick potential. They always try to go for the picks when the turtle has already spawned, like we've seen many times. The Franco
Turret gak hancur satu pun,
gets
ya
countered
Allah.
and gets re-engaged on,
Susah
and
banget
that's it,
didicol apa
right?
trackingnya.
RRQ needs to adapt to the draft. The gameplay that was presented there just did not fit the draft.
And if you look at the
Dia
damage
mau
tower,
maksimalin
man, that
di
is
bagian ininya
sad
parsanya,
for a
pakai
team
Chow, pakai
as dominant, as aggressive as
S7,
RRQ,
pakai
zero
si
damage.
itu
So not even
Franco.
a single hit towards a turret. That just shows that they were completely, I don't know, out-strategized. And as you mentioned, maybe they have to adjust how they play out, because we've already mentioned that there's potential. We'll see in game number 2, but for game number 1 here, MVP by Samsung Galaxy A series is going to be Kyrie on that Ling. That's Samsung Ling making an appearance
Samsung
with
Ling,
that
guys.
killing spree. Well, we'll take a look at the MVP highlights here. Just a bit of moments from game number 1 to just show you guys what exactly was Kyrie able to do. Always since the early game, he was able to get the very good pick-up onto Skylar. And then in mid-game, you see that he waits for the right opportunity again and again. And of course, credit to him for having a solid retribution. So Albert wasn't able to get any moments going on. And aside from that, as we mentioned, there's not much of a threat for him unless he goes in alone and gets maybe hit with the suppression. And here, even with RRQ Hoshi getting the pick off, getting the quote-unquote initiation that they need to try and turn things around, overall, Onyx is still able to actually strike back because they're just that far behind. And once they have control on the map, you already know that Onyx, they waste no time at all making these plays happen. And with the momentum on their backs, just go for the end, even though they don't really have a Lord or any other ways to come with them, because they know all you have to do is consistently destroy, burst down the stragglers from RRQ, and then they take that game just like that.
Yeah, it was so one-sided that Skylar had the same amount of gold as Keyboy. So that's a roamer, and that's a gold laner, guys. That just shows how completely dominated RRQ Hoshi was to the hands of Onyx Esports. But game number 1, still a best of 7. A lot of things still able to happen.
They need to improve, firstly, of how fresh they are, how they smell on stage, because the better you smell, the better you play. And I think Onyx just smelled better in game 1, right?
Yeah.
With the new axe effect, though, RRQ won't have to worry that much, because just with one spray, that's 48 hours of the dual action body spray on you. 48 hours. Can you imagine that?
No, I can't.
Oh my God.
I can't imagine.
You can't imagine.
I can't imagine.
2 days. Hey. try to smell it right now. Can you smell Arashi with the new axe effect?
Oh, that's Arashi?
That's Arashi.
What?
Oh, you thought it came from the crowd, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought it was someone in the crowd. It turns out it's Arashi.
Well, you guys can go and grab axe, and you can also grab food right now, because we are currently not in game. This is a good time for you guys to check out food, to check out even groceries here for some snacks. With the discount code we offer you here, grb.to/MPL, you can get a discount.
90% discount.
90%.
90%. And if you guys think that the voucher code is a little too difficult for you to, do, it's a little too hectic or whatever, just scan the QR code below, down on Arashi's side to get that discount. Because even if you guys don't want food right now, you want to check out the venue perhaps, because we have so many booths, you can also still use Grab, and you get a promo code up until like 6K for the Grab bike.
Use your head. Get those value promos. And while you're also using your head, obviously, your head needs to be fresh as well, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need to wipe your shoulders with Head and Shoulders, because it's always clean with no dandruff on your head. Remember to wash your hair with Head and Shoulders. Wet and itchy dandruff? Immediately wiped out. Ew. And guess what? This is also the limited edition with Tigreal and Eudora on the packaging, on the bottle.
Yeah.
My God.
Even when I finish it, I'm going to put it in my room.
It's...
Because it's limited edition.
Yes.
With Eudora. Eudora was the
memorabilia.
first hero that I used in Mobile Legends. So I have a sentimental thing with Eudora.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, a bit of history for you guys at home.
So do you have a sentimental thing going on for Tigreal, Arashi, or is this just an
Unfortunately, my first hero was not Tigreal.
What was it?
I believe
Jawhead.
it was the Mia, actually.
Oh, it's Mia.
I think, yeah,
I thought it was
most people
Jawhead.
start with Mia, Layla. How did you start with Eudora? Did you just like mages?
I loved mages.
You like mages.
Magic.
Well, magic in the building right now. Arashi.
Well,
Onyx Esports 1-0. Coach Aldo, the architect.
Working his magic for his team with a JBL Quantum crisp, clean instructions to the players. And you can see that in that game, the comms must be absolutely on point. They made near to zero mistakes for the side of Onyx Esports, and despite RRQ, the comeback kings, the dynamic team that can surprise you, right? Onyx Esports are ready at every single turn. So RRQ, they cannot count on that happening any longer. Maybe invest more in the drafts, invest more in the early game, right? Because Onyx is not going to make a mistake.
We can do this, Phil.
They've shown that in game number 1.
I think at this point, RRQ Hoshi, they can't rely on old tactics. I think that's just clear. Because if they relied, because we know that RRQ Hoshi, they relied so much on the Franco last season, even up until MSC. And teams like Onyx Esports have actually read up on this and they know exactly how to counter it. So RRQ Hoshi, can they bring a different gameplay to the table, seeing as they were one of the main teams that were watched worldwide, internationally. Everyone had their eyes on RRQ Hoshi, everyone analyzed their games. So in a way, it's actually harder for RRQ Hoshi here in this grand finals.
Well, I think for this season, a lot of people have been looking at Onyx Esports as well. The team that's just been so dominant in the regular season. And here you can see their dominance in game 1. Let's just hope that Onyx Esports are actually able to hold on to that consistency, right? Because remember, in the upper bracket finals, they got game 1 and they lost 3 games in a row. Here, game recap, Onyx and RRQ, it's Kyrie and R7 as the impact players.
Well, that being said, it is a best of 7, so even if they win 3 games in a row, R7, 3 games in a row, it doesn't guarantee that they'll win. Onyx can still win 3 games in a row.
True.
And reverse everything back. That is the possibilities that
will be amazing
in the grand finals. This is what everyone has been waiting for. And right now, with 40 seconds to go, can Phil come up with a winning formula for his team to actually perform? Because honestly, it seems like they're a bit out of practice. We saw some mistakes available, some mistakes being made by the players of RRQ, and Onyx exploit that completely. So I wonder what exactly is the adjustment, the plan for RRQ by Coach Phil.
Oh man, it feels good, man. For these audience members as well outside, they didn't get the tickets to get in, but it's all good because they can still show their support. They can still watch together outside. And they're hyped still, you know? Even though you're not sitting right in front of the stage, just being around, being in this arena is so amazing. And you can see,
look how cool that is.
We're taking a break, by the way, right now. It's a break, right? We're not in the drafts yet. We're not in the game. And it's this full. Most of them are probably like getting out there, grabbing snacks, or washing their hair or their face with Garnier Men. But here we go, the drafting phase for game number 2 of the grand finals. RRQ, again, still sticking with first pick, not changing strategy just yet. Onyx Esports on the red side, and for the bans, it looks exactly the same right now. With Onyx Esports banned Faramis and Crocodita being banned out by RRQ.
We'll see what they ban next year, as Akai is still going to be the choice of ban here for Onyx Esports. So still the same drafts coming in, still the same bans coming in. We'll see if anything changes, right? But in particular, did you see any heroes from Onyx that deserved the respect ban?
Irithel. The fact that they left the Irithel in the second
Irithel
phase
tuh kalahnya sama Brody, bro.
Very interesting. They banned the Mathilda and the Phobius. I think the Mathilda is a good ban, but the Phobius in that second phase, the final ban from RRQ, is a bit sussy to me. They already have an Esmeralda to counter that Phobius, yet they still banned it instead of an Irithel that really just shuts 1-1 down from the early stage.
Harusnya tuh ambil tuh kalau emang mau ngelepas Irithel tuh ambilnya tuh.
They banned the 1-1 instead. So Onyx Esports, they have one more ban, and it really states for RRQ that Kadita and Grok has been very, very respected. So maybe in scrims, Onyx Esports has a secret weapon. For Onyx, they ban out that Beatrix. Back again to the early stages of Season 10. The 2 marksmen just not being allowed in the Land of Dawn.
Yeah, I was gonna mention this, right? I think RRQ Hoshi, they find a lot of success if Beatrix is placed in the hands of Skylar. So this time around, they aren't gonna ban out the Eve. They're actually gonna leave that open and opt for the ban on the Beatrix here in the first phase. As the Valentina was left open, RRQ Hoshi will be able to pick this up. So they'll trade here in terms of the draft against Onyx Esports. But now, Onyx do have the chance to pick up the Paquito once again. And a troll. Okay.
Interesting, right? They go for the fighter brothers, Joe and Paquito.
The dynamic martial arts duo.
It's it's pretty interesting to see, right? Because again, right now the Fanny is open.
Jelek,
The hero that was
anjir.
banned out by
Diam.
RRQ.
RRQ sih
that was replaced here by
ambil
1-1 in game 2 was open, but Onyx Esports still, they are prioritizing the flex picks first. They don't
Atlas
wanna
bro,
go
pick
into
bro,
the
Atlas
Fanny.
bro, nanti kalau pas ke
Again,
boy mati
Hero's
kalian,
not
sumpah.
really that successful so far
Atas,
in the
atas, atas.
playoffs. RRQ though, they pick up a signature Claude for
Diambil atas sama
Skyler.
kalian.
With the 1-1 ban and with the Beatrix ban,
Tapi kalau dia ngambil
we've
Atlas,
only really
kita
seen
bisa ngambil
Skyler
Digi.
perform on the Claude,
Aman
right?
sih, RRQ ambil Digi.
1-1, Beatrix
Tapi Digi
Claude,
langsung
so it's a
mati nanti
good choice for RRQ.
ditendang,
And
dipukul si
Fredrin
itu
here
si
for
Pakuto.
R7 is what worries me. Because
Nantinya
we've
nggak akan
seen
ada
this from
terus.
RRQ. When they go for the Fredrin R7, when Fredrin pick on R7, sure, it's a good laning phase for them. But once the laning phase ends, when the team needs to rotate together, RRQ lose a lot of lane pressure in that XP, and Onyx Esports can still flex that Paquito into the XP lane, right? With that mobile advantage, the mobility advantage, it's going to be
Sama
a
itu
hassle for RRQ to deal with, and now especially with
Lolita
the Gusion
sih.
pick. Because you really don't know where all three heroes
Lolita
are going
bagus
at
sih.
this point. It's crazy how Onyx Esports are able to pick 3 flex picks here in the first place.
It surprises me about the Fredrin pick because someone like the
Bannya.
high mobility is actually still open. It's not been banned out. It hasn't been taken either for Onyx Esports, and it's still a possibility for Onyx
Valir
to take up
boleh
because we
di
saw
ban
that
Valir.
Cho can be put in the jungle position, it can be in the EXP, it can be in
Julian,
the roam,
Julian.
even in the gold lane at this point, right?
not
And so
that
can the
good.
Paquito. Gusion can be in flex for Sans or even for
Matilda
Kyrie.
sih
So
kuat
at
banget
this
sih,
point,
Matilda.
still very up in the air.
Tolong mereka.
As RRQ Hoshi, they don't have much of flex potential at all in terms of their draft. Here in the second phase, with the Matilda is going to be the choice of ban here, as RRQ Hoshi have the next
Oh,
one.
Estes sih bagus sih Estes
Another
sumpah.
Matilda, so now RRQ, if they have squishier members, if they don't select someone with a bit more tough skin, or with a bit more securing potential, it's going to be very difficult for them to survive the aggression, right? Burst damage coming in from essentially Cho, Paquito, and Gusion. It's also a good mix of physical and magical damage, so without a Matilda to save lives on RRQ Hoshi, they have to find a different answer.
There's a comment there by Zin, a Gusion player himself. He says that the Gusion should be played as a mage instead of a jungler, because as a jungler with low mobility and slow clear, it gets outperformed by a lot of these junglers, right? But again, it really depends on the matchup, I believe, right now. Because if you pick a Gusion up against another assassin, you kind of clear at the same rate. If you pick a Gusion against an Akai, a Balman, yeah, I can definitely see that, right? But for Onyx Esports, either way, they were able to make it work in both of these roles, jungle and mid. For the bans though,
Dia belum
Matilda,
ngepick
Atlas,
tanker.
RRQ finally taking that
Mereka
Fanny
juga
out, and this just shows, right, that flex
Nice,
pick is
respect
so
ban.
insane by Onyx Esports.
Kita udah
because
ngambil
RRQ,
Tuh,
they're
belum
forced
ding
to
belum
ban
ngambil
2
jungler kita.
junglers because they don't know. They
Mereka
still
udah
don't
ngambil
know.
jungler si Chow
Who's
harusnya.
going down?
Masa
Who's
Chow
going down?
rover?
The Cho can be roam, the Paquito can be XP, and the Gusion can be mage.
Chow kalau
Both
jadi
assassins
rover
banned out, Fanny and Ling, but this opens up a Balman still for
Gampang
Kyrie.
ambil.
His signature pick in the regular season.
Bro,
And if they really want to go for
di
the skirmish
clean
heavy
sih ini
comp,
pasti ngambil
the
clean.
neutral
Sans ngambil
objective
clean pasti
secure comp,
buat cewek.
this Balman still
Yeah,
works,
clean.
but they need some range first, right? Up against a Claude, Brody, Bruno,
Clean.
or there's a very interesting pick, Leslie
Clean.
For the Claude.
for the Claude.
So it works very
Yeah.
well. That's burst damage, is true damage coming in, with the rest of the burst damage coming in from Onyx Esports.
Bruno.
But Bruno will be the option that they go for right here. And so far, this is a very scary composition.
Udah,
and
ambil
you start
Franco
to
ini
see
mah.
Why exactly they banned out the Faramis and the Matilda.
Franco enak banget
right?
ini.
It's going to be very difficult
Franco
for anyone
boleh,
to survive
Lolita
against
boleh.
this kind of damage. And for RRQ, they need tankiness, they need crowd control. Ruby can be an option, but we have to
Enggak,
wonder
Ruby
and
enggak.
worry about
Robby susah
sustainability, because
lawan itu
even a Ruby
Bruno
building with full
sama
Yeah.
Gusion.
tank is going to be hard to survive against the mixed composition, the mixed damage coming in from Onyx Esports. So a bit of sustain will be required as well.
They need
Franco
CC.
sih. Franco
They
serius
need
Franco
CC
bagus banget.
with how much dive Onyx Esports has.
Franco
If they can't
bagus banget
secure
Franco.
CC, it's gonna be so easy to run down the
Kali bener
members
udah
of
Franco sih.
RRQ Hoshi down.
Nah, kan Franco
As
Lolita.
CC it is. Lolita is going to be the pick, as well as the Lancelot in that jungle position. Onyx Esports
Wih, Albert
with the
Lance
last
bro,
pick.
udah lama bro nggak lihat
Who is
Albert
it going
Lance
to be?
bro.
Are they going to secure a roamer? Or
Udah ngambil Franco nih orang.
I mean, gold laner
Atau
secured,
Estes.
right? Bruno, definitely.
Yeah, but
It could be a mid
everything else-
laner.
Everything
Ram-ram
else
bisa
we really
aja,
don't know.
Yeah.
It's 3 flex picks. And again, this just shows how flexible
Saya dia
Onyx
ngambil jungler
Esports
aja,
really
tapi lembek
are. And
banget,
in this
anjir.
draft, now that they know that RRQ have gone for the Lolita and the Lancelot, Onyx can just play it however they
Bauman.
want.
Bener
And
kan,
like I
Franco-nya
mentioned, they go for
jadi
the Bauman.
itu
They want that
cowok
neutral
oh
objective
cowok mid
control.
enggak deh.
And that's 2 for 2 for me in the
Ah kan,
second
cowok
phase.
roamer,
Bauman, Bruno.
Sans mid.
Bruno to go for the
Junglernya
snowball.
itu.
And honestly, this
Apa,
composition
Bauman.
from Onyx, if they get that early grasp into the game, I don't see how RRQ can get out of that, right? If RRQ actually weathers the storm, that's their win condition.
I guess right now the only thing they have going for them is the possibility for that Numinous Blast to actually counter a lot of these dives, right? A well-timed Numinous Blast from Vin will be able to throw a wrench in the plans of Onyx Esports, but even then, Onyx would most likely know how to deal against that.
Let's see. The snowball composition from Onyx Esports is definitely scary.
Yeah.
There's a lot of damage output there.
And even relying on the Numenor Blast itself, because of that animation, it can be cancelled, remember.
And you gotta remember, right? The reason the Lolita worked so well for Onyx in game 1 was because RRQ lacked CC.
Exactly.
Onyx have a lot of CC in this game to counter that Lolita Numenor Blast
Yep.
charge. They have literally everyone here. And because the Gusion is in mid, he has to petrify too. So that's CC. But ladies and gentlemen, it's time to dive into game number 2. Into the land of Dawn here. As Onyx Esports take on RRQ. Onyx 1-0 currently, looking to make it 2-0 with their draft.
Their mid power spike is going to be so felt here for Onyx Esports. RRQ Hoshi, they have to be careful. How are they going to do this? Should they play for the early game? Should they play for the late game? Because in that mid game, Onyx Esports, they're just going to roll on RRQ Hoshi with their composition.
Definitely in the late game, I think. If you look at Onyx Esports, they do very well in skirmishes, but in the 5v5, there's a lot of chance for RRQ Hoshi to go for a combo to do a lot of damage. But in the early game, they have to be
sakit
very,
gak tuh?
very careful. But Albert goes in aggressively. Keyboy is the main target, and he is forced to flicker away. RRQ Hoshi abusing the early game even before the ultimates are ready.
And this is due to that mid control. Gusion, not good. I mean, it's good clear, but not against Valentino, who can just bully you away from this wave.
I think that's the idea of why it was paired with a Cho in that mid lane. But even then, you need to be able to wait for that level 4, I feel, and not be able to do too much of a risky play here in that mid side. As right now, both teams are going to start centering around this turtle. 20 seconds left on the clock. Keyboy still level 2, so I'm not going to expect any crazy plays from Onyx Esports at this point.
I think the mid game with a bit more items is where they're going to try and make plays happen. And for sure, I assume that they're going to avoid big fights and go for the skirmishes. They're looking at the talent predictions by Axe. Only one RRQ vote in both English and Indonesian desks.
I actually predicted Onyx,
Oh,
to be honest, so
Only one.
So, only one, all right? If we take it correctly, that means OG, Ranger Moss is the only one who went for RRQ. Onyx Esports, once again, going for this neutral objective. Kyrie gonna be stunned up here, as the Numenor Blast will be charged.
Nice banget.
Well, Kyrie to be caught. First blood over to RRQ.
Nice banget.
The crowd erupts.
Nice banget, Vin, gila.
Samsung Galaxy A Series 5G. The turtle gonna be targeted here by RRQ now, and Onyx Esports are gonna be forced to back away. This is where it's gonna be disastrous for Onyx, remember. Because, guess what? It's a snowball composition for Onyx Esports. If they don't get that lead early on, if it's instead RRQ who gets the lead with their multi-dimensional draft, it's gonna be tough for Onyx.
it is, especially even in the lane, right? Bruno versus someone like Claude. Bruno is going to have a really good game in that early. I think his base damage is already super high, even before items. And going against someone like the Claude who needs those items to scale, in the late game, if Bruno doesn't get that early lead, it's going to be very difficult. As in the top side here, R7 is going to be taken down here in a 2v1 situation. And Onyx Esports starting to look for some compensation on the board.
Udah aja itu ya.
Let's see in that
Nice.
with the dragon gonna be popped there, stolen away by Clay, gets another kill. And RRQ, they're really utilizing this pick potential now in this game. Onyx Esports were able to find a trade up top, and unfortunately for Onyx, that's not the winning lane they were looking to play for, because the Bruno so far isn't able to really bully that Claude. The Claude has been free farming here. Remember, he also has the Avarice, so if they trade equally like this, Skylar will definitely have a massive goal lead if he keeps on building, Arashi.
And usually, right, the team that has their gold laner ahead gets a bit more of an advantage in that mid game, because right now in the current meta, that gold lane marksman usually is the primary source of damage. So RRQ Hoshi pressuring really well on all facets of the map, and also making sure that Skylar is not shut down like in game number 1. That might be exactly the win condition that they need, because Skylar has shown that he is absolutely scary if he gets ahead. Silence now picks up the genius one, so lower cooldown. We'll see how much pickoff he can do though.
Cakep.
Another pick here. RRQ so far just out-rotating Onyx Esports early on. And again, this is a massive
Bunuh si
benchmark
ceweknya
to
sih,
Onyx
saran gue
Esports
sih.
who have, on
Geng
paper,
5,
should
geng
have
4.
that early game power. The Bruno wasn't able to bully the
Alberto
quality.
suruh
Right
sendirian
now,
aja seharusnya.
even in the XP department, it's RRQ winning. Sans though dealing damage onto Vin. That's a roamer right now as he's trying to funnel the gold in onto CW. The shield comes up, the turtle's taken away, the shield as well. Oh my goodness, Vin is able to get out. One more shot.
Bunuh.
Finally able to get it, but low.
Nice banget. Mampus kalian.
From both Skylar and Albert.
Ambil buff ya.
Executes.
At what
Tepatin lagi.
cost, right? 2-for-1 trade here for RRQ Hoshi, as their snowball completely just obliterated here, taken away. Kyrie still able to get that buff though, as there is going to be some
Skylar!
Skylar
Bunuh.
able to outmaneuver him, and Sans now is caught in a bad situation.
Nice banget, gila
Another
Albert.
pick off for RRQ Hoshi, a wiped out for Onyx Esports for any hope in that early game.
Nice
Snowball.
banget Skylar, sumpah.
Albert just grabbing up the kills like he can get. Grab food using promo code grb.to/MPL. Scan the barcode if you're too lazy to type it in, because this game is absolutely insane as Albert is just styling on everyone. Onyx Esports getting baited into a lot of situations, spending a lot of times chasing for kills that allows RRQ Hoshi to collapse and punish the overextension. RRQ Hoshi taking a lead right here with a 2.6 gold lead.
Again, RRQ are finding momentum in game 2 instead of 1 like they usually do. Onyx Esports now are in trouble. Albert is snowballing, and he definitely used the axe effect earlier. Vin jumps in, stunning Keyboy up. Keyboy looking away the dragon, bringing Vin back though. Sans with the petrify as well. Vin gonna be taken down. Keyboy is the one who picks up the kill though. Kyrie jumps in once again onto Clay, who's gonna be forced to back up. Has the way the dragon to disengage. Skylar's still as well.
Nice banget. Balikin.
Skylar has the blazing duet. He's gonna pop it right now as he jumps in the back line and dealing so much damage there. He's gonna be able to zone the other members away. Albert with the play.
Udah gila Albert anjing.
The class from Albert in game 2. R7 winning in the lane against Boots as well. 3.7k over to the defending Season 9 champions.
Albert is sitting at 4-0-3 here in the 7th minute, and he's a level ahead of Kyrie at this point. RRQ Hoshi gonna shift their focus now on the neutral objective, taking this turtle, and this is gonna be the third turtle of the game where Onyx Esports has not been able to obtain a single thing on the map other than those 3 kills.
Vin!
Dapat.
Oh my goodness, what keeps
Nice
him
banget.
down?
Anjir, gila bagus.
Gonna be locked down,
Wuh.
and Albert picks up
Come on,
the
come on.
double. Holy Vin. That
Ya Allah, please ya Allah. Udah bagus banget early-nya.
that.
Udah jauh banget duitnya.
What we need to see from Vin. And as you mentioned, the Lolita, when it's ahead, it does a lot of damage, and it has very dynamic, surprising engages that Onyx Esports has to constantly worry about, on top of the fact that everyone else is just making dynamic moves around the map, especially Albert. Now they are forced to ration out their crowd control, because if they don't save some for Albert, you already see the damage he's doing right now. And with the Malefic Roar, even the preliminary physical defense items that Onyx Esports has been able to pick up will be ignored completely.
Yeah, no ordinary Lancelot. 6 times picked up at an 83% win rate. And it shows
Nice banget.
as he goes on to Keyboy with a godlike, and there you go.
Nice banget.
He's on to Boots now, and that's gonna be the kill.
Nice banget.
Albert.
Push
What
middle.
the heck? 8-0-3. 8 minutes in, he's picked up 8 kills.
Ngamuk,
the man has
mampus
8
kau, ah.
kills per minute as the
Albert
Lancelot.
Dek.
He's absolutely styling right now. And he's looking for that bottom side and the purple buff steal as well. Onyx are not having a good game here. Item build, Arashi.
Lancelot, Albert on the Lancelot, no Wratg right now. Hunter Strike into the Malefic War, understanding that they are tanky members like the Paquito, like the Cho, and the Balmon on the side of Onyx Esports. So he wants to make sure that those guys get deleted as well. And you saw the result. Kyrie, Boots, Keyboy, no one is safe from the damage of Albert right now. But of course, that's for now only. You already see the Antikyras being built by Boots, respecting that potential damage. But now you have to really feel for CW on that Bruno. Very few outplay tools, very few mobility options, and Albert being the one with 8 kills right now. Your life is forfeit, man.
But interestingly enough, it's always CW being able to do this, right? Even though he's so far behind in total, he's still able to kind of level Skylar in that gold lane, as RRQ Hoshi very easily going to be able to get that Lord. And this is looking bleak for Onyx Esports.
You see, that will usually be good for CW because he's usually on a scaling hero.
But this time he's not.
This time he's not. Sure, Bruno does damage in the late game, obviously. He has a lot of damage in that late game, but what you really want to do on the Bruno is snowball. In the early game, that's when you have the most strength, right? You can absolutely dominate your lane. But again, Onyx Esports did not opt to go
Nice banget.
side gang. Boots, wow, he's just going to be taken down there. That was all the single targets. Clay stole Keyboy's ult. Oh, no, that Albert actually. I thought it was going to be Vader get popped at the Nobar now.
Balikin, balikin, balikin. Mampus kalian. Bunuh itunya, Bruno. Brunonya dulu. Nice banget. Nice banget. Sepek. Sepek. Alhamdulillah ya Allah.
It's on a mid laner. It's a wipeout by Head and Shoulders. RRQ.
Sepek anjir.
Clay. We talked about him before this game started, but we did not expect that kind of performance. Clay, the person who is always in the back line, being able to get a savage on the Valentina here. The first savage of MPL ID Season 10 in the playoffs against a team as strong as Onyx Esports. Wow, I am at a loss for words. RRQ Hoshi now, 8,000 gold lead in the plays that Clay could make. What can Onyx Esports do at this point?
You'd expect a gold laner or a jungler to get the first savage in the season, Arashi. Clay.
It's Clay on that Valentina. We talked about how flexible, how dynamic this player is right now. So much improvement.
Nice.
And now that begs the question, what is Onyx supposed to do? They take out Albert, and then they get absolutely wiped out. So how mobile, how aggressive RRQ can play, Onyx Esports, they can't even afford to use all their resources to take out one person because RRQ Hoshi will absolutely strike back. And if you take out Albert, Clay is now 7-0-7 as well. He has more than enough damage. And of course, Skylar is still scaling like a monster. Onyx Esports at a loss.
So tough at this point, right? Onyx Esports, they don't have much high ground as well to defend this. 8,000 gold lead and counting. Skylar already with the Wind of Nature, so he can go in, use a Blazing Duet, and just not receive any damage, perhaps, from Onyx Esports.
Maybe Sans will be the one that can change that, depending on the situation. But Onyx Esports, they need to ration out their spells. As we mentioned, they require some crowd control for Albert, now some for Clay as well as for Vin. And if they're a bit too careless, Skylar will come into the Blazing Duet. So they need Sans maybe to try and deal damage to him, because with the Wind of Nature, everyone else, it's going to take way too long for them to take him out. And with that in mind, with Onyx Esports zoned away, RRQ Hoshi take a free Lord, 8k gold lead.
Deja vu, but it's on a different team here for RRQ. Clay looking for that play. Sans is forced to use the ultimate defensively. And when you're on a Gusion, that just shows that your composition and just you in general, you've been outscaled. 9,000 gold lead for the team that should have the hold in the late game or in the mid game. Definitely not the early full like this.
No, it didn't work out. The composition that Onyx Esports brought, unfortunately, it did not work out. And now RRQ Hoshi in the 13th minute with a 10,000 gold lead, approximately one item ahead of each of the members from RRQ Hoshi. And now they're going to look for the final siege.
Well, we'll see once again, as that's the enhanced Lord. RRQ can definitely look for a wipe here, but if Onyx Esports are able to micromanage properly with their CC and their damage, they should be able to defend it for now. Lord gonna be cleared in the mid lane. RRQ don't care. They're gonna go for that bottom side, taking it out. R7, the shot of damage there. The Numenab Blast will not connect onto anyone. That's a massive restore of the Flicker as well. On Esports, they're gonna replay, but it's gonna be the taunt coming in. Now the damage as well. That's gonna
Nice.
be taken down. Boots in the midst as
One
well.
by
Lethal
one,
counter
come on.
over. Just
One
like
by
the
one,
immortality,
come
and
on.
Look at the damage
Nice.
everywhere.
Nice.
Onto the Onyx Esports members. CW is the
Nice.
only one left, and RRQ equalize in game number 2.
1-1 now, as Onyx Esports were able to get that really dominant game in game number 1, but it instantly Uno card from RRQ Hoshi in game number 2. And that was so dominant by RRQ. Unfortunately, Onyx Esports drafted for that snowball play, but RRQ Hoshi shut them down from that early game and did not allow that to happen.
The Season 10 pattern continues, man. When everyone thinks that in this game, Onyx is gonna take over, RRQ just flip it around and said, really? You think so? We go and get Albert snowballing, destroying everyone, even the tankest of members on that Lancelot, and afterwards, just on the cherry on top, let's get clear, Savage. RRQ striking back, making a huge statement.
And again, this is where it's actually scary for Onyx. We mentioned that it's scary for RRQ after the game 1 loss, but now RRQ, they've got momentum back on their side. It feels exactly like the upper bracket finals.
Oh, no.
One game, Onyx, first game, secured. Then RRQ with a massive dominant game in game 2, and they use that momentum really well.
Gila
Even though most of the
anjing.
casters predicted
GG
we
banget.
all agreed that it was a one-dimensional composition. If they were able to shut down these late-game threats in the early game, like the Claude, Onyx Esports would definitely have been able to snowball. I think, though, again, Onyx Esports failed to play with their winning condition. They did not play around that Bruno who's supposed to actually bully this Claude.
So basically, they made the same mistake that RRQ did in game number 1.
Yep.
In a way, because right now, that it seems like teams that prioritize the gold lane get so much benefit of the fact that in the mid-game, those gold laners actually have a presence. In the current meta, if the gold laner doesn't get any resources, you might as well be fighting 4v5, right? It's just a lot more than the lane for that gold lane in particular. And for RRQ, they are just able to find so much success. And in a way, it seems like whenever they play a bit messy, right? When we saw that Albert actually gets picked off, surprisingly, they just find a way to turn that in their favor. Because if you think about it, if it wasn't Albert that gets caught off, Onyx wouldn't commit nearly as hard. They know that was the main target, they all go for it, and that allows them to get completely wiped out. So it's just a very confusing way of playing for RRQ Hoshi.
First Savage in Season 10 is in the Grand Finals.
Crazy.
I think that's the first Grand Final Savage in MPL Indonesia history. And it's presented to you by Clay, of all people, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd expect the jungler? You'd expect the gold laner? No. It's Dead End from Bogor.
On Valentina in the mid lane. That was just so unexpected. I don't think anyone expected that kind of performance coming in from Clay, and he just continuously surprises us with things that he has up his sleeve. And it was really well mediated as well by the other members.
Sumpah
I
Clay,
think we were
bapakmu bangga.
supposed to see a Savage earlier on, like in the regular season, but remember how that got denied? So it became a Maniac, but that was supposed to be a Savage as well.
True. Well,
Bigatron, right?
the first official Savage,
The first
though,
official
finally coming through. And wow, you have to wonder how Onyx is feeling, because
Exactly.
they were on a roll, and then out of nowhere, it's not just a loss, it's not just a dominant performance, it's not them getting outplayed even though their composition should have came out on top. It's also that Savage, so a lot of mental pressure, but Onyx is no stranger to this situation. We'll just have to see what the Architect can cook up for us.
It shows you that, again, even in this patch, in the Grand Finals, it's not just reliant on the draft, right? Because if it was based on a draft, honestly, with the winning lanes that Onyx had, they should have been able to get at least the advantage early on. Execution matters as well, and RRQ displayed it here, as we are going to dive into the item builds for this game. Another 13-minute game. So far, 1-1, 2 games. Totally, I think it's 26 minutes.
Wow. This is a very quick performance, and Skylar on that Claude, as you can see, a lot of damage and the Malefic Roar. Albert as well with the Malefic Roar, and the War Axe later in the game. This we have to see if this is a pattern that will start gaining popularity, because usually we see that Lancelots go for the War Axe, and right here with the Hunter Strike Malefic Roar combo, he's able to actually be relevant, doing damage to not just the squishy members, but the tankier members as well. It's part of the reason why they're able to actually translate that lead to the other lanes as well. Clay on that Valentina though, even though there's a Gusion on the team of Onyx Esports, no Athenas, and instead going for the Oracle to supplement the healing from Valentina's kit. So it's very smart, and of course once that's done, it's just very difficult, man. He is just doing a lot of damage, and he is very surprisingly survivable.
I want to point out something you mentioned in the game, actually, Arashi. You said that Albert was shredding through everyone, even the tanky members. And you can see the build that he went for, it's mostly just penetration, right? He actually skipped the BOD. The BOD he saved for last. He went for the War Axe, obviously the Hunter Strike, the Malefic Roar, and even the Endless Battle to add more true damage to his kit. So that's the reason he was able to shred through even the anti-curses over from Onyx Esports.
Very smart intimidation choice for sure. And it's not nearly as dominant. Well, I guess it's close. The damage to tower, 0 for RRQ in game number 1, only 1,500 in game number 2 for Onyx Esports. But overall, it's still a very dominant showing from RRQ Hoshi.
Definitely.
And the stats maybe doesn't seem as one-sided, but that's just how RRQ Hoshi plays, right? They give you a bit to take a mile. And the MVP by the Samsung Galaxy A series.
No
man,
way
what
it
a
isn't.
performance. He has 0 deaths.
8-0-10, 86%. This is your MVP by the Samsung Galaxy A series 5G. Clay, 8-0-10. Look at the itemization as well, right? Genius one over to the glowing one. Kind of the same.
And this glowing one is just so good right now, right? Not only does it do max HP damage, it just allows heroes that has a lot of multiple instances of damage to do a lot more, and that is exactly what Clay is able to do in this MVP highlights by the Samsung Galaxy A series, all the way in the early game. And you see that Sans and the others, they get baited out. They try and secure the lead because they need to, but then they stick around for way too long and they get absolutely punished. And Vin, when his team is ahead, when he is the one looking for creative ways to engage, this is the kind of success you can expect to see. And Albert just starts taking over that game, and of course, this is that moment, man. The whole team, they commit for Albert, and they get shredded by the Blazing Duet, and once that's over, Clay just comes in with the spammable nature of the spells of Valentina. That's a lot of damage, and the team, they know what to do. They stop moving, they let him get that final kill with a basic attack, so that was nearly taken away. And even here, Onyx, despite the fact that they're trying to defend, there's no minion wave available, RRQ are just way too ahead, and it's a bit of a deja vu to game number 1. Onyx has officially struck back. We have to see if this turns out to be an insane back and forth.
Wait, because this is not just deja vu to game 1, but deja vu to the previous Royal Derby that we saw yesterday.
Finals, 2 days ago.
2 days ago, right? Onyx was able to get that first win, landslide, dominant, and then RRQ able to get the second, dominant, and then they just snowballed from there. So is it going to be a repeat to what we saw in the upper bracket finals here is going to be the question.
It definitely can be a repeat, right? RRQ could definitely take it 3-1, but remember, it's a best of 7. So either way, you're going to have to win one more game there after the 3-1. We've mentioned many times that the format really matters, right? And right now in a best of 7, anything can happen. Fatigue can kick in. But obviously, you can't get fatigued if you watch this on TikTok and you upload your excitement watching MPL Indonesia as well, because you get so many rewards by doing the challenge using the hashtag
MPL celebrations, but instead of an IO, put a 10 with numbers.
Numbers, yes. And you can get numbers as well because you guys can get all this right here. Rashi, Samsung phone, do you want it? Secret lab chair, do you want it?
Why would I not want it? This is the best in the business right now. It's a no-brainer. Of course you want it.
Exactly, ladies and gentlemen. But, you know, after this match, we're going to have a break. So obviously for the players, sometimes when you're on stage, when you're thinking that hard, you get sweaty. Your face gets very oily. Garnier Men, for all of you guys right now, Garnier Men is the #1 men's facial care brand in Indonesia for over 9 years. And everyone's been asking me.
9 years?
Everyone's been asking me. Man.
Older than me.
Oh, wow. You're 8 years old, or wow, all right. That's a fun fact, ladies and gentlemen.
Surprise, surprise.
Everyone's been asking me and Arashi, and even you, right? Because, hey, guess what? Garnier has female
line
skincare as well, the female line, right? Why? How is your skincare so good? What do you use? I always tell them, I just wash my face, that's it. And they don't believe me. Now you will believe me, because Garnier Men is here to come and play, right, Arashi?
Yeah, absolutely.
Arashi is going to take a break with me and Eterna as well, because we got to wash our face after that game, man. Even casting here gets pretty sweaty. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you after this break.
Udah gila anjing. Apa Cil?
Ayo main.
Lagi nonton ini MPL, bro. Clay Effect dek.
Udah mulai lagi.
Enggak, lagi break kayak. Satu sama bangke. Udah.